So the purpose of my channel here at Darling Buds Clinic is not to overawe, but to over-educate. Hence, after each and every case that I present, there is always a moral behind each hair transplant journey. For I feel that an uneducated, unresearched hair loss patient is the biggest curse that can happen to a clinic. And like in today's case that I'm going to show you, where a Caucasian patient whom I operated about 4 years back came seeking a touch-up procedure, here in this video, I highlight, underline, an often ignored aspect of hair transplant that you should not miss. And before I come to Richard's story, one of the most common trends that I see in international patients who travel abroad for a hair transplant, is that they reach out not when they're on the top of the world, enjoying the peak of their transplanted results, but when they find themselves rolling down the hill once again, facing the same hair loss woes, the same troubles they once had before they got the first hair transplant. People like Richard initially consider that their hair transplant is an end unto itself until hair loss strikes again. This is why the golden phase, when the transplanted hair are at the thickest, their fullest, is rarely documented by patients abroad. Instead, what I receive often years later are images of hair loss progression, showing the contrast between the stable transplanted hair and the diminishing native hair. And this makes it challenging for my channel to display long-term Caucasian hair transplant results, as the peak results are seldom shared. On the other hand, the subsequent hair loss is more often than not emphasized. Let's see a compilation of my hair transplant results above Caucasians who were kind enough to share the results after 6 months and 1 year. Around 4 years back, this Caucasian patient, Richard, 27 years old then, walked into my clinic eager, excited, could not wait for his hair transplant procedure to start. And like many young men facing the emotional burden of hair loss, he too saw a hair transplant as a definitive solution. A one-time solution that would erase his baldness and restore his confidence indefinitely. But what he didn't fully grasp, and what I emphasize to patients almost every other day, is that a hair transplant is not the end of a hair loss journey. It is merely a milestone, a means to the end. The real work begins afterward. And this particular patient, despite achieving a remarkable result, remained non-compliant with the recommended medical therapy, particularly DHT blocker, and that was not due to his fear of side effects, but out of a general reluctance to adhere to a regimen. As I often stress, hair transplant alone does not stop the progression of baldness, does not stop the progression of androgenic alopecia. It merely provides coverage in areas which have gone bald at that moment of time. Without ongoing medical management, native thinning, miniaturizing hair continue to thin further and fall off eventually, leading to an unnatural look over time, necessitating early further intervention. Stopping medical therapy is like pulling the plug on a well-lit room. You might not notice the darkness immediately, but soon enough it will become impossible to ignore. A fundamental truth in hair transplant is that while a transplant moves follicles from permanent zone to a balding zone, it does not alter the genetic predisposition to hair loss. Patients who wish to maintain their hair transplant results over the long term must follow a strict post-transplant protocol, which includes regular follow-ups, medical therapy, and salient lifestyle modifications. And you can see several such patients who had a long-term result out here in the link above. For my patient Richard, non-compliance to oral DHT blocker meant that while the transplanted hair remained, his native hair continued to thin, creating a stark contrast between the planted area and the areas with native thinning hair. The illusion of density was lost, and over a period of time, he began to notice progressive baldness, especially in the mid-scalp and the crown area. And by the time he contacted me again, he was significantly balder than when he first walked into my clinic some years ago. Given the extent of his progressive hair loss, Richard recently underwent a touch-up hair transplant with me, targeting areas that had thinned over the last 2 years. A touch-up or a second hair transplant is often necessary for patients who continue to experience hair loss post-transplant. While the first procedure lays the foundation, subsequent refinements ensure a natural, seamless integration as the patient's hair loss pattern evolves over time. And in his case, we reinforced the frontal area and worked on restoring density in the mid-scalp and crown areas. The goal was to blend the previously planted hair with newly transplanted follicles, creating a cohesive, youthful appearance, making him happy all over again. However, as always, the final results will take time, almost a year, to fully manifest. For Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a perfect hair restoration. Patience is key. This case, Richard's case, underscores the importance of patient compliance and continued vigilance post-transplant. A hair transplant, you must note, my friends, is not a cure but a means to manage your hair loss. It provides a permanent solution for the transplanted follicles but fails to address the progressive nature of androgenic alopecia. It's like plugging a leak but ignoring the rising tide, so you need a holistic approach. Remember, in ongoing androgenic alopecia, medical therapy is key. Whether it's a DHT blocker, a topical stimulant, or alternative treatments, ongoing management is essential to maintain existing hair and prevent further progression of baldness. Think of it as daily brushing for dental hygiene. Neglect it and problems will arise. Regular follow-ups matter. Patients should stay in touch with the surgeon, sharing photographs not just when hair loss accelerates, but also during periods of optimal growth. A stitch in time saves 9, they say. Early intervention can prevent drastic actions at a later date. And touch-up procedures are common when you start a hair restoration journey with a hair transplant at the age of 27. As hair loss progresses, additional procedures may be required to maintain hair density and to maintain aesthetic balance. Lifestyle changes need to be recruited to optimize your hair transplant results and overall hair health. And they are a balanced nutrition, rich in vitamins and minerals and proteins, stress management, scalp care, proper sleep, and hydration. While Richard's case is unique, it serves as a potent reminder that a successful hair transplant requires long-term commitment, close coordination between doctor and his patient. After 1 year, I will showcase his result to you, but this time he has renewed his understanding that a hair transplant is just the beginning of his journey, a lifelong journey in hair restoration. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions about this case, about hair transplants, hair restoration, medical treatment of hair loss, do drop a comment in the comment section below and I'll respond immediately. But if you need personalized consultation, do visit our clinics in Mumbai, Mohali, or Amritsar, and I'll be there to guide you. Have a nice day and God bless you.